Deborah Katz, Christine Blasey Ford's attorney, said Christine Blasey Ford was ambivalent about this. Christine Blasey Ford said that she was going the civic route. But now that we hear that it's actually about Roe versus Wade, at least in some small part, I think it's worth examining their larger strategy. And one of the things that Deborah Katz talked about at that same legal conference was about how you can't just look to the law when you have these kinds of cases. With these kinds of clients, she likes to employ a press strategy, a strategy that involves going the legislative route, and employing a full-bore strategy that involves going all of those different ways to accomplish what you want to do using organized forces from the left.
Right, which is absolutely shocking. So first of all, just for our audience's information, when was this legal conference, this video that we saw, when did this take place? This was after Kavanaugh was confirmed to the Supreme Court.
It was. It took place in April 12, 2019 at the University of Baltimore. It's a feminist legal theory conference, and the topic was actually applied feminism and Me Too. And so really what Deborah Katz was doing in this full talk was explaining how she goes about handling these cases. I spent months going through and watching each of her talks, sometimes attending them in person in public, talking to her adversaries, some of whom don't ever end up in a courtroom, which is part of her strategy, and then also going through the emails that she had sent to Senate Democrats, to Senate Republicans, and after reviewing all of that, trying to understand what it was she did and how it was she represented her clients outside the courtroom and in the court of public opinion.
Right, and it seems to come down to the fact that she weaponizes the Me Too movement. That's what happened with Christine Blasey Ford. Deborah Katz has a political agenda, and she's weaponizing or hijacking the Me Too movement in order to achieve that agenda.
Right, and so the Me Too movement has completely been mobilized entirely in the service of going after Justice Kavanaugh here. And what I think is interesting about that is that there's kind of two main points. The legitimacy and the credibility of the court, of the Supreme Court, is at stake here. And we've seen in the first 2 years of President Trump's administration, with Justice Gorsuch, it was said that the left says, he's sitting in a stolen seat. That's Merrick Garland's seat. President Obama picked Merrick Garland. It shouldn't be Justice Gorsuch. Now with Justice Kavanaugh, they're saying there has to be an asterisk next to his name, no matter what he does, specifically because of the concerns of the Me Too movement. All of that is involved in trying to undermine whatever comes next. And that's really a dangerous place to be in, and we've been headed there for some time because of the increasing politicization of the courts.
Well, and I guess this is what I would ask you. When she says there's an asterisk by his name, what does that mean? I know she's talking about the court of public opinion. She wants people to always associate Kavanaugh with these baseless allegations from Christine Blasey Ford. But how does she want that to impact, I guess, public activity? Does she want people not to accept Supreme Court rulings as law because Kavanaugh is on the court?
I think you've honed in on a key question there. And I think what's interesting, too, is that she says, it was inevitable that we were going to have a conservative justice. And therefore, that's why it's so important that there's an asterisk next to his name. Because they needed to make sure that no matter who was going to be selected had an asterisk next to his name, or her name, if it had been a woman that had been selected, so that no matter what was going to come next, they would always be able to raise doubts and concerns about the legitimacy of what the Supreme Court was doing with nominees that were appointed by President Trump.